Now in today's lecture, we'll start with quantification limit. This PDF file which I am showing you is shared on your Google Classroom. I'm sure that many of you have visited Google Classroom to see that file. Okay. Now, when I saw my PPTs again, some formulae were missing from the PPT. I don't know what happened because maybe I converted 2009 PowerPoint to 2016 PowerPoint. Maybe because of that format got changed or something like that. I don't know. But formula were not there, and because of that, I missed the formula in last lecture. So I decided to stick to this PDF. Anyway, there are only 2 or 3 points remaining now. We have come to quantitation limit. After quantitation limit, we'll see what is robustness, and after robustness, we will take a look at the recommendations that are given by ICH regarding the analytical procedures. Anyway, uh, the quantitation limit which we are looking right now, in concept, it is very much similar to detection limit. Okay, and how to determine it, its method of determination is also very much similar. So again, there will be different approaches for instrumental analysis and non-instrumental method analysis. Okay, so I will read out several approaches for determination of quantitation limit. Several approaches for determining the quantitation limit are possible depending on whether the procedure is non-instrumental or instrumental. Now, approaches other than the listed approaches in the ICH guidelines can also be acceptable. When they will be acceptable? Only when the analyst convinces the evaluators, uh, the authority convinces the authority with sufficient data and the logic. Okay, then other approaches other than listed here can also be accepted. Okay, so first approach 7.1 is visual evaluation. As the name is suggesting, uh, manually human element is important. It is not that some instrument is detecting. So mostly non-instrumental methods can be used for this, but there are certain instrumental methods also which is giving you some number as output. Okay, so that also can be used over here. Okay, the quantitation limit is generally determined by analysis of sample with known concentrations of the analyte and establishing the minimum level at which the analyte can be quantified with acceptable accuracy and precision. This last part student forget to write in exam. When you are determine quantitation limit, the accuracy and precision at that low concentration has to be established. Now, what this method means, you take a quantity of analyte and go on preparing its lower and lower dilutions. The lowest dilution, which can be determined accurately, will be with accurately and with precision, will be called as the quantitation limit for that method for that analyte. Okay, so this is your first approach, visual evaluation. Second evaluation based on signal to noise approach. Now this second approach, signal to noise approach, will be applicable only for those instrumental methods where there is a baseline and there is a signal. Okay, the baseline can be like this, like in UV or in HPLC, or the baseline can be also like this in terms of IR. In terms of mass spectrometry, instead of having peaks, you have lines. Okay, so this is mass spectroscopy. So in all the methods, all the instrumental methods, where there is baseline. So this is his baseline. This line with zero or minimum value, that is called as baseline. So all these are baselines. So all those methods in which you have the baselines. This particular method is applicable to those type of instrumental analysis. Okay. Now we have seen in the last lecture how to determine the signal to noise ratio. So for this quantification limit, the ratio should be 10:1. For detection limit, it was 3:1 or 2:1. But for quantitation limit, it is 10:1. Okay, do you have doubt in these first two procedures, in first two approaches? If there are no doubts, then only I will proceed further. Okay, there are no doubts. Okay. The next approach is based on standard deviation of the response and the slope of that response. Now, standard deviation is when, just a second, I will, okay. When you talk about standard deviation, let us take the usual example that we take, it is absorbance versus concentration. So you have your mini readings. Okay, you apply your linearity ka method and you draw a best fit line, or you calculate the best fit line after applying the linear regression to it. Okay, then you can also use that data set to calculate your standard deviation of this line. You can calculate the slope. So this slope and the standard deviation can be used to calculate quantitation limit. Okay, this particular formula is used. Quantitation limit is equal to 10 multiplied by sigma divided by s. It will give you your quantitation limit. Okay, I hope you are taking down the running notes also. What I am telling, at least the headings you will write. So first heading quantitation limit, under that visual evaluation. Then next approach is signal to noise approach. Next approach is standard deviation of the response and the slope. Okay, then under this particular approach, third approach, the slope may be estimated from the calibration curve of the analyte. So you can draw the calibration curve. The estimation of sigma may be carried out by a variety of ways. So for slope, there is no other way. Okay, but there are certain ways, two ways for determining sigma. One obviously will be based on calibration curve only. The calibration curve which we have drawn over here. Okay, the calibration curve which you have drawn over here, you can use the same data set to calculate sigma. So this is obviously one approach. Okay, so here it is listed as the second approach, based on the standard deviation of the blank. Okay, you will just take measurement of the magnitude of the analyte background response is performed by analyzing an appropriate number of blank samples and calculating the standard deviation of these responses. Because you are working on very low concentrations, you can calculate sigma based on the variations that are present in the blank. When that variations are very similar to the variations of your sample which you are detecting, so you can guess that that level has been matched. So you are reached to the maximum, I'm sorry, maximum, not minimum range at which you can detect your analyte correctly. Okay, so for this particular parameter, that is a quantitation limit, what is the recommended data? You have seen the formulas and approaches above. So recommended data you can obviously guess. The quantitation limit and a method used for determination of the quantitation limit should be presented. So whatever method you have followed out of the above three approaches or the approach you have devised, the detailed method should be presented to the authority. Then the limit should be subsequently validated by the analysis of suitable number of samples known to be near or prepared at that quantitation limit. Once you establish the quantitation limit, you should prepare fresh new samples and apply your method to that low concentrations to establish that this has been determined correctly, to ensure that it has been detected correctly. So so far we have seen uh, seven parameters which are listed parameters. There is one unlisted parameters. We have discussed it. We have seen what it is in previous initial lectures. Its definition we have seen. The last parameter is robustness. Okay, I will read out what the robustness asks for as a data points or methodology to establish the robustness. The evaluation of robustness should be considered during the development phase. When we say during the development phase means during the development phase of the method. जब हम develop कर रहे हैं method तभी robustness को consider करना चाहिए. And depends on the type of procedure under study. It should show the reliability of an analysis with respect to deliberate variations in the method parameters. Now these variations are not accidental. They are not within the we can say they are control of human being which are doing the process. ऐसे नहीं कि वो accidentally हो जाते हैं. Okay, if measurements are suitable to variation in analytical condition, the analytical condition should be suitably controlled or a precautionary statement should be included in the procedure. Now I will tell you what it means. Okay, let me think of an example. Suppose you are carrying out iodimetric titrations. In those iodimetric titrations, iodine tend to escape from your analyte solution. That's why you need to use those iodimetric flask. Okay, so अभी ये iodimetric flask use करना है. You need to decide it. You need to consider this when you are developing the process. Okay, and when you are developing the process, there should be a note below the process or above the process that when you are during the titration, volumetric flask should be used. If they don't use, what will happen? The result will vary because the iodine that is getting titrated, getting oxidized will get reduced. That quantity will get reduced and the result will be affected. Have you understood what this first statement means? I will again tell if it is not clear. जो भी एनालिटिकल कंडीशंस है, अगर उसमें कुछ वेरिएशंस होने की पॉसिबिलिटी है तो एनालिस्ट ने वो डिलिबरेटली करना चाहिए वेरिएशन. और अगर आउटकम में चेंज आ रहा है, ओके, वो डिलिबरेट वेरिएशन किया और उसके वो डिलिबरेट चेंज से अगर आउटकम में चेंज आ रहा है तो वो मेंशन करना चाहिए प्रोसीजर में. जैसे मैंने एग्जांपल दिया आयोडोमेट्रिक टाइट्रेशंस का. If you are using your normal conical flask, your results will get affected. So you need to tell that please use iodometric flask. One consequence of the evaluation of robustness should be that a series of system suitable parameters like resolution test is established to ensure that validity of the analytical procedure is maintained whenever used. Okay. Now, I will tell you example what this second statement means in over here. Now, we are taking example of one HPLC run. Okay. You have time on x-axis and a response on y-axis. This response is of the detector. Okay, the distance between peaks of two components of the analyte, this particular distance, now this may be called or may be indicator of resolution. Okay, how much two peaks are separated from each other. Okay, so this is called as indicator of resolution. Okay, so when you change the parameter in HPLC run, like the pressure applied to the mobile phase, when I'm saying pressure, it is the flow rate of the mobile phase, or it may be the temperature, or it may be the length of the column. Okay, so when you are developing a procedure, you will change all these parameters deliberately to see at which flow rate, at which column length the resolution is acceptable. The resolution is acceptable. Those two peaks should not be get merged. Okay, these kind of peaks are not acceptable. So you need to establish that what should be the exact flow rate, what should be exact length, or which flow rates are acceptable, which lengths of the column are acceptable, that everything should be mentioned, and uh, it should be mentioned and it should be established for particular test. Have you understood this second part now? I will read the statement again. Maybe that will be more relevant to you after. Okay, so I will read it. One consequence of the evaluation of robustness should be that a series of system suitability parameters, बहुत सारे रहते हैं, एक एग्जांपल हमने लिखा रिजोल्यूशन टेस्ट का. Okay, system suitability parameters is established to ensure that the validity of the analytical procedure is maintained whenever is used. और एक हम एग्जांपल ले सकते हैं. अगर आपको ये नहीं समझा, आई विल क्लियर दिस फ्रेम और आई विल ओपन अ न्यू फ्रेम बेटर वे. ओके, okay, one more example what we can take is, come on here, one example more we can take is, suppose we are carrying out UV experiments. Okay, for UV experiment we are plotting different spectra. On y-axis, obviously, there is response, that is absorbance. On x-axis, there is wavelength. In UV experiment, what can be changed is, suppose concentration is changed. So this is one graph. This is another graph. And this is the third graph. In the first case, very high.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So we can't see the graph.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to share.
Now is it visible?
I have drawn three graphs. Okay. In first graph, when I plotted the first graph using UV spectrophotometer, the concentration of the analyte was very high. For this second graph, the concentration was very low. And this third graph, the concentration was intermediate. Okay. So obviously you can observe that at the third case, in this third case, the concentration is acceptable and you can have lambda max. Okay, because here the concentration was very high and concentration was very low, the graph plotted is not proper. Graphs plotted are not proper. Okay, so यहाँ पे हमने जैसे HPLC के केस में हमने क्या एस्टेब्लिश किया था कि फ्लो रेट क्या होना चाहिए, उसके बाद कॉलम लेंथ क्या होना चाहिए. यहाँ पे हमने क्या एस्टेब्लिश किया एज अ रोबस्टनेस, वी ट्राइड द सेम एक्सपेरिमेंट, सेम मेथड यूजिंग डिफरेंट कॉन्सेंट्रेशंस. Okay, so this is one deliberate change that we are making. Okay, so have you understood the concept of robustness now? There are other things that also can be changed. Have you understood what is robustness? Okay, people are saying yes, they have understood. So it is basically the deliberate change that you are making, and you are checking that whether your procedure is applicable in that deliberate changes. Now, the typical variations that any analyst can introduce is like this: the stability of analytical solution. जैसे एक solution बनाया, analytical solution बनाया कोई तो, and you are using it over the period of 10 days. Okay, इससे करने से क्या होता, देखो कई बार ऐसे होता है that एक ही चीज हमको लैब में बार बार करना पड़ता है, like use of sodium hydroxide solution as the solvent. So the analyst should use previously prepared solvent 10 days back and see whether the use of old solvent is giving you any change in the stability of analytical solution. Is it giving you the same result? Now, extraction time. Extraction time is like we always extract drugs in solvents. So कई बार ऐसे होता है कि आपने 5 मिनट एक्सट्रैक्ट किया तो भी वही रिजल्ट मिलता है और 1 घंटा एक्सट्रैक्ट किया तो भी ऑलमोस्ट वही रिजल्ट मिलता है. सो दैट शुड बी एस्टेब्लिश्ड. ओके, इन द केस ऑफ लिक्विड क्रोमेटोग्राफी, examples of the typical variations are influence of various pH in the mobile phase. That is, you are changing the pH of the mobile phase. Then influence of variation in mobile phase composition. Not only you are changing the mobile phase pH, but initially suppose it is 1:1 water ethanol, you are now changing it to 1.1 to 0.9 water ethanol. The composition is changing. Third, different columns. Okay, there are lots of different columns are available, or same type of column by different suppliers are available. Okay, so you can make changes in that. Temperature, ये मैंने बोला था, temperature का example मैंने बोला था. So temperature you can change. Flow rate can be changed. I had mentioned the flow rate also. Then in case of gas chromatography, where mobile phase is gas, example of typical variations are different columns, that is different lots and different suppliers, temperature and flow rate. Okay, so these 3 things can be changed. Any doubt in the 8th parameter robustness? Any doubt? Okay, if you have a doubt, you can ask after the lecture. Because lecture, I guess it will get over quickly. Okay, coming to the last part of the chapter, system suitability testing. Okay, system suitability testing is an integral part of many analytical procedures. So almost every analytical procedure you should check system suitability before you start the method. The tests are based on the concept that the equipment, electronics, analytical operations, and samples to be analyzed constitute an integral system that can be evaluated as such. मतलब आप जो भी equipment use कर रहे हो, उसके जो electronic components हैं, all the analytical operations that you are going to carry out, and the sample you are going to analyze, it is constituting an integral system. That means they can be integrated together to form a system. मतलब एक के बाद एक कर सकते हो. So their this in they are forming a same system, considered an integral system that can be evaluated as such. Okay, system suitability test parameters to be established for a particular procedure depend on the type of the procedure being validated. Suppose it is you are coupling the UV spectrometry with HPLC or other column chromatographic technique. If you are selecting these two techniques together, make sure they can act uniformly with each other as a single system. ओके तो उसमें कुछ स्लाइटली चेंजेस कर सकने पड़ते हैं. So those changes should be done. Okay, if you want to combine them, we are going to see in theory those techniques. Okay, uh, did I lost? Okay, system suitability test parameters to be established for a particular procedure depends on the type of the procedure being validated. Now अभी इसमें ऐसे दिया है see pharmacopoeia for additional information. Her pharmacopoeia, whether it is Indian pharmacopoeia or any other pharmacopoeia, instruments का information, different techniques का information दिया है. So you need to read those information when you are developing your own technique. Okay, so here I declare that this particular chapter is over. If you have doubts, you can ask those doubts.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
For the methods like chromatography, it is already validated now. So, why are we again and again studying the validation process of that validation methods for those methods like chromatography?
When you say that method is validated, chromatography method is validated, what do you mean by that? I did not understand that part of your doubt.
Methods like chromatography, they are already validated. That's why we use it. So why are we studying now?
Listen. Okay, I understood.
Yes.
What you want to ask, I understood. Maybe her doubt is, sir, chromatography is established technique. So why we need to validate that chromatographic technique? Chromatographic technique is established technique for separation. But if your drug, when I'm saying drug, it may be API, it may be formulation. If that is new formulation, if the drug is totally novel, you cannot simply take any random new drug and apply it to any column. There are hundreds of types of columns. Okay. Even if you consider silica column, there are different types of columns of different length, columns of different diameter. The HPLC technique will come with pumps using that use different pressure. So there is at least millions of possibilities by which you can analyze your new molecule or new formulation. So you need to establish one method that by using that one method all over the world, by using that one method and chromatographic technique that you have developed newly, you can accurately, quickly, and with all those 8 parameters determine determine or assay your formulation or API. So it is not the method of chromatography in general that is under question. It is chromatography applied to your drug, your formulation. वो दोनों का कॉम्बिनेशन चलता है या नहीं? ऐसे हो सकता है कि कोई जो ड्रग है उसका एनालिसिस 5 सेंटीमीटर कॉलम से भी हो सकता है, 10 सेंटीमीटर कॉलम से भी हो सकता है, लेकिन वर्तिका सिंह ने एक ऐसा मेथड डेवलप किया जिससे 2 सेंटीमीटर के कॉलम से भी उसका एनालिसिस उतना ही इफेक्टिव होता है, with all that accuracy, precision, detection limit, quantification limit. So वर्तिका का ये मेथड नया है जो 2 सेंटीमीटर का कॉलम यूज कर रहा है. So वर्तिका need to validate her method. Have you understood what I am trying to say?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other doubt?
Sir, I have a doubt in specificity. Can you open the slide?
Slides. Okay. Let me open the slides. Just a second.
Yes, sir. In this
Is
essay and impurity tests 4.2.
4.2. Huh.
In this, in the last point, it is written that in cases where a non-specific essay is used, तो फिर अगर if it is a non-specific essay, in the case of non-specific essay, why we establish the parameter of specificity if it is a non-specific essay? I cannot understand that.
Okay. The example is also given. See, a non-specific assay. It is not that we are establishing the non-specific impurity. Okay. Now, it is used for in case of in case where a non-specific assay is used. Other supporting analytical procedures should be demonstrate overall specificity. That means it is not the one procedure that is demonstrating the specificity. So along with assay, you need to combine your assay procedure with something else also. Okay, the example here is given. For example, where a titration is adopted to assay the drug substance of release, the combination of assay and a suitable test for impurities can be used. That means whatever is getting assayed, it has got what we can say. Uh, your method is assaying something. So titration method is assaying how much paracetamol is released. Okay, so after say every hour you are taking the aliquot and you are titrating that aliquot for presence of paracetamol, and with titration you have come with answer that in first hour 70% paracetamol got released, but your method it may not be specific for paracetamol. That means paracetamol का कोई तो degradation product है, it is also getting detected by your method. So you will use another suitable test to find out whether the impurities are present in that paracetamol released. Suppose that method, second method says no impurities are present. That means by your assay, whatever you are detecting is completely paracetamol, and whatever percentage you are carrying out by titration is the paracetamol that is released. मतलब क्या है, आप एक मेथड यूज कर रहे हो टू डिटेक्शन and quantification, but that method is not specific, so you are combining your method to other method which is only for the purpose of detecting the impurities. Have you understood this?
Yes, sir. So then we have to establish specificity of non-specific essay too with the help of one more essay and a test for impurities. ऐसा इसमें बताया ना?
Yes. One more ऐसे नहीं, one more test. ऐसे हम कर रहे हैं अपने मेथड से, लेकिन हमारा ऐसे में जो आउटकम आ रहा है उसमें कोई इम्प्योरिटी नहीं है, इसके लिए हम इम्प्योरिटी का टेस्ट परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so we need to combine two methods. Okay, any other doubt? There is something in the chat box. Let me check. Wait. Ruksar is asking, sir, can you explain second point of quantitation limit? Okay, Ruksar, what you are asking, is it on the slide? Yes, Ruksar, ask it out.
Sir, I didn't get the second point of recommended data in quantitation limit.
Second is signal to noise approach.
Sir, in
Okay.
recommended data.
Acha, in the recommended data.
Yeah.
The limit should be subsequently validated by the analysis of suitable number of samples to be near or prepared at the quantitation limit. Okay, suppose the quantitation limit, let me open the blackboard, just a second. Suppose this is your calibration curve. Okay, you have determined and plotted the calibration line, and after you have determined, you identified that this particular concentration, ये जो भी रहेगा, this particular concentration is the minimum concentration that you can quantify accurately. So around this concentration, you will prepare several solutions. Okay, you will prepare several solutions and you will measure the absorbance of these solutions. Okay, and you will establish whether you can really determine those small concentrations accurately with precision.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
So there was also a doubt in today's practical.
please ask.
Sir, when we take that 200 ml of aqueous solution, organic solution, so we add 50 ml of acetic acid all in one, or 50 ml in separate individual 50 ml of organic?
सेपरेट इंडिविजुअली 4 बार ऐड करना है. पहले 50 ml ऐड करो, मिक्स करो, सेपरेट करो. फिर वो जो एसिटिक एसिड लेयर है वो अलग से रखो, ऑर्गेनिक लेयर लो, उसमें फिर से 50 ml एसिटिक एसिड डालो, फिर से शेक करो, फिर से 50 ml एसिटिक एसिड अलग करो, जो ओरिजिनल रहेगा ऑर्गेनिक लेयर उसमें फिर से 50 ml एसिटिक एसिड डालो. ओवरऑल ऐसे 4 बार करना है. तो
सर
आपको
वो मतलब वो
हाँ,
200 ml में 50-50 4 बार डालना है, या फिर 50-50 ml जो इंडिविजुअली मिला था उसमें 50 ml डालना है?
ना 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 ना, जो ऑर्गेनिक लेयर मिला था 50-50 ml, वो सबको कंबाइन
हाँ
करके
हाँ
पहले
हाँ
200 ml
combine।
बना लो एक ही बीकर
हाँ
में. उसको
हाँ
ट्रांसफर करो आपके सेपरेटिंग फनेल में. सेपरेटिंग
हाँ।
फनेल में पहले 50 ml एसिटिक एसिड डालो, उसको
ओके सर।
एसिटिक एसिड में एक्सट्रैक्ट करो, एसिटिक एसिड अलग से निकालो. जो अभी सेपरेटिंग फनेल में बचा है क्लोरोफॉर्म लेयर, उसमें फ्रेश एसिटिक एसिड डालो जिसमें कुछ भी डिसॉल्व नहीं है. ऐसे आपको
ओके
4 बार रिपीट करना है. ठीक
ओके।
है. हाँ,
और सर वो क्वांटिटेशन लिमिट में जो सेकंड पॉइंट था उसमें
क्वांटिटी,
सिर्फ इतना।
हाँ मुझे देखने दो पहले. क्वांटिटेशन लिमिट में सेकंड पॉइंट,
सेकंड
ये
पॉइंट।
सिग्नल टू नॉइज रेशियो.
हाँ सर।
हाँ उसमें
सर उसमें सिर्फ 1:10, मतलब अगर नॉइज 1 है तो जो सिग्नल है दैट शुड बी 10,
10
दैट शुड बी 10
टाइम्स,
टाइम्स।
10
तो
टाइम्स
वो
ऑफ द.
सर वो
हाँ
पूरा पॉइंट सिर्फ वही एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है?
हाँ, it is. See, I will read out. Determination of signal to noise ratio is performed by comparing measured signals from samples of known concentration of the analyte with those blank samples. Okay, by establishing the minimum concentration at which the analyte can be reliably quantified. A typical signal to noise ratio is 10:1. आपको noise कब मिलेगा? जब आप सिर्फ blank लेंगे. From blank you will get noise. You understand this?
यस सर।
So you will prepare different solutions having known concentration but low concentrations, known low concentration of your samples. Okay,
ओके
समझो ऐसे आपने 10 सॉल्यूशंस प्रिपेयर किए बहुत कम कॉन्सेंट्रेशन के, लेकिन उसका हर 10 सॉल्यूशन के आपको कॉन्सेंट्रेशन एग्जैक्टली पता है, और बाद में आपने लिया सिर्फ ब्लैंक और उसका सिग्नल देखा, उसका
ओके।
सिग्नल इंटेंसिटी, और
हाँ
फिर हम कंपेयर करेंगे हर एक डाइल्यूट नॉन कॉन्सेंट्रेशन का इंटेंसिटी. तो
हाँ
जिसके साथ जो लो के साथ वो 10:1 या उसके साथ मैच हो रहा है वो, दैट
ओके।
यू विल
हाँ
टेक इट एज द क्वांटिटेशन लिमिट. उसके नीचे वाले जो सॉल्यूशंस रहेंगे उसमें आपको रेशियो मिलेगा 9:1 और 8:1, तो दैट इज नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल.
ओके सर।
हाँ.
थैंक यू सर।
Yeah, welcome. Anyone else with doubt?